All right, and on the next one, we want where f of x is less than 0. Where's that at on the graph? Below the y or the x-axis. So we can include, that looks like what? -5. Because -5 is indeed below. But I cannot include -3. Because -3 is actually on the x-axis. And I cannot include 6. But I can include 7. So this second part is again talking about whether those should be open circles or open parentheses or brackets closed. They're actually can be either. It can be open, closed, a mixture, just like I have here, depending on where it's located. So mixture. For example, if it's on the x-axis, then it can't be, greater than 0 or less than 0. And that's when you would include a parenthesis as opposed to a bracket. Okay, look at that graph, and I want you to write down what the domain and the range is of this graph. There's a spot down here at the bottom, domain and range. Remember, domain are the x's, range the y's. So Tyler, what did you get for the domain?
-5 to 7, including both.
Yes. You look at the x's. Notice the x's go from here, -5, all the way across to 7. And both of those are filled in circles, so it does include both endpoints. Okay. Identify the range then. What would that be, Justin? So it goes from here to up there, and you're right. -4 to 4 doesn't include those points. Yes. And you always go from least to greatest. And we're going to practice a free response. It's on the next page. We'll do that together. Free response questions at first probably won't take you that long. Normally they'll take you 10 to 15 minutes to do a free response question. Again, it may not actually take that long. But like if it was a regular test and it was timed, that's about how long you would get per free response question. Okay, so you already have what it looks like. On A, just make sure you read the directions. It says identify the domain and range of g of x. And this one is g of x. So go ahead and write down what you think the domain and range is. Okay. Anybody? What do you think the domain is? Okay. -5, -1. 1 infinity. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else have something else? I'm not saying that's necessarily right or wrong. Okay. So -5 to -1. -5 starts here. What about all that? I need to include this part. How do I include that? Yeah, it goes to 6. Does it include 6? No, because that's an open circle. In case you can't see that, it is an open circle. So I would go from 6, and then it says to -1. Okay, I understand the -1. It's right there. But if we look at the -1, on this graph somewhere, does it include -1?
No.
It doesn't up here. Does it here? Yeah, it does. If it ever includes -1, then it includes -1. And it does go to the right forever, so it does go to infinity. So actually the way I should write this is from, oops, that should have been -6 to infinity. Yeah, thinking about it that way. See if you can.
So
Go ahead.
Would it be a bracket since it's an open circle?
Well, if it was only an open circle, then yes, I would do like a. You mean for like the -1?
For 6, the -6.
-6, yeah. It's not a bracket. It's an open parentheses because it doesn't include the -6. If that had been a filled-in circle, it would be a bracket. Good question. Okay, anybody want to tell me what they think the range is? I'm going to put it over here. Or it may not be like that. Everybody's scared because the last one is wrong. The last one, actually, if you put them on a test, I would probably only count off a point. You had most of it. You knew the concept. It was just you didn't go to the left far enough, and the 1 threw you off. So you would get partial credit for sure. Range? Anybody want to give a shot at it? Okay. So which one should go first? Which one's the lowest? -infinity to 5. -infinity you can't include. Does it include 5? No. So it looks like that. That's absolutely right. Just remember when you're writing these down, whether it's the X's or the Y's, it always goes smallest to greatest. Excellent. Okay, now part B. If P of X equals blah, then what's the value of blah? Show how you determine the values of blah. All right. So let's start with P of 3. I'm just going to do that first. And the main thing on a free response question is that you show your work. Now, I don't mean you have to show how you multiplied things together, but you have to show how you plugged things in and then how you got the answer. This one is a calculator not permitted problem, so you wouldn't be using a calculator if this was on a test or a quiz. So we'd have the square root of 3 squared plus 2 times 3 plus 1. If you went straight from there to the answer, I wouldn't count off. But most of us probably wouldn't do that. But if you went straight from there and to the answer and the answer was wrong, I would probably count off more than if you had some work and I could figure out what you did wrong. So 9 plus 6 plus 1, that's the square root of 16, which is 4. There's P of 3. F of 0. F of 0, I'm going to have to use the graph. So find F of 0 on the graph, and the next one as well.